Sorry about that. What's going on, everyone? This is another installment of Brooklyn Beards and Ball. I'm your host, Don. For unforeseen reasons, this is a debate show. For those that are just watching, we're welcoming our Twitter followers. For those that are watching, this is usually a debate show. But unfortunately, last minute, my co-host could not participate. So I'm here just to give you a quick preview of week 6, some highs, some lows. Also, we're going to discuss the 49ers, of course, tied for first place in the NFC West. So, back where we belong. But I'm looking forward to the interaction once you join, once you get into the chat. We'll discuss some fantasy, a few props. Also, I will give my upset of the week because there is some pretty good upsets that will potentially happen. I encourage you, everyone, please like, share, subscribe to our Facebook, YouTube, and our X or Twitter, whatever. If you're old school, you call it Twitter, but X. It would be greatly appreciated. But we got a good show. We got some good stuff to talk about. And without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, week 6 started off with a bang. Thursday night football, of course, the 49ers taking on Seattle Seahawks. Really good game. 49ers had last couple of weeks some disappointing losses. Unfortunately, got out to a big lead and somehow found a way to squander those leads and lose, right? And then a lot of people, Rod and SKRAPP, they laughed and kind of, sky is falling somewhat. And even watching and listening to some commentators talk about that the Niners were pretty much finished, or a Super Bowl hangover, and they weren't the same team. Now, granted, we have the offensive player of the year that has not played, right? And we have injuries on the defensive side, but no excuses. If we played to our ability, and if we played a real game and actually once we got those leads, just grind it out, running the ball, I think we would have been fine. I think we would have, had those victories. But unfortunately, we got a little cute, started throwing a little more than what we necessarily needed to do. And as a result, we gave teams some life and gave them an opportunity to eventually come back and win, But that aside, we are still in first place, tied for first place in the NFC West. Let's talk about Thursday's game. Brock Purdy, for those that are still doubting, for those, I don't even think Mr. Irrelevant doesn't come out of people's mouths anymore, right? Because they know he's the real deal. Now, Rod, my co-host, who's not here, would say that next year we're going to, Dakatize him and give him $60 million. That will never happen. And I don't care. We win the Super Bowl, confetti, his wife and all of that. And she announces that she's pregnant and it's just a beautiful story. He's still not going to get $60 million. He's not going from 800,000 or 900,000 to $60 million. Will not happen. 49ers won't do it. Kyle Shanahan honestly won't do it. So I think he will be in the 45-ish, maybe 50-ish range, which is a ridiculous jump in pay. That's life-changing, amount of money that you're making in the jump. But I think the Niners are going to be smart about it because, the cap is the cap, right? So you can't have look at Dallas, perfect example. Highest paid quarterback, right? You have one of the highest paid receivers. And what else do you have? What else do you have? No running game. A lot of, they have some injuries. They have a lot of stuff going on. But you see how if you are too top heavy in one position, or let's say the offensive side, the defense struggles. So you got to kind of spread the wealth. And I think the Niners will be smart about that, for the sake of longevity of winning. If Brock gets the bag and he gets $60 million, we're going to lose some people. And I already think that we're going to lose probably Debo, right? Debo's probably going to go. They'll probably trade him or something, because we have some young receivers that are up and coming, right? Brandon Ayuk, who hasn't showed as of yet, but I still think he is going to come into his own. Remember, this is going into week 6, right? So he's still missing, OTAs and all of that stuff. He still has to work himself in. Down the stretch run, I think he's going to be just fine. All right, so the Niners played Seattle. Brock Purdy is undefeated against Seattle, and it went on. Geno looked good starting off, but I think the key with the Niners is always to frustrate DK Metcalf. If you get DK Metcalf, jacked up or feeling like he's not getting the ball enough, he's going to be, those nostrils are going to be blowing smoke on the sideline, and the nose rings will almost pop out. So that's where you want him. You want him to be bullish on the sideline. What's going on, Kanandre? Thank you for joining. But I think ultimately, Kenneth Walker, really good running back. And Geno has been playing, good football. But I think, some teams just have the other team's number. Unfortunately, Jordan Mason, he has an AC joint shoulder injury, but it's day-to-day. So it wasn't major. I think being smart about it, a short week. We played Sunday, then played Thursday. He has 10 days for until our next game, which will be against Kansas City. And we want, CMC, they didn't open up the window for him to come back. But I think maybe after our bye would logically be the best time to, maybe if CMC is coming back, they'll probably open up the window within the next 2 weeks or so to get him back in, start revving him up. But I don't think Mason goes away. Obviously, you would be foolish to then bring, if your goal ultimately is February, right? Your goal is confetti. Your goal is the Super Bowl. CMC is an offensive weapon, obviously, great receiver out of the backfield. I mean, he is good enough to be better than, most number one receivers, to be honest. But he's he's just a triple threat. Speed, hands, all of the above. So I think we're going to be smart about him. I think ultimately our stifling D, Geno threw an interception. He had his turnover. So we did what we needed to do. And then once we got the lead, I think we put our foot on the gas and ultimately finished them off. 36-24. Good W. Brock Purdy played exceptional. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I think 275 yards. So, we're back 500. And hey, listen, thinking about it, if you can factor in that you don't have not arguably, he's the best running back in the game. If you don't have him and you're at 500 after 6 games and at top of the NFC West, I think you're in a good position. I think you'll take that all day long. Let's talk about, there's a few games. We got a really early game tomorrow, 6:30 on the West Coast, 9:30 Eastern, and that will be the Bears and the Jaguars. Now, I don't know why why the NFL wants to send junk over there for our NFL fans across the pond, like why they want to see those garbage teams. But I will say Chicago has been playing better, right? I have DJ Moore on my fantasy team, so of course I want him to do well, right? Swift was looking like he was going to be benched, and then he was like, nah, not so fast. He started balling out, running the ball well. So I think they have a really good team. Keenan Allen was hurt for the first couple of weeks. I think he's back. So I like the Bears. I like the Bears. Kanandre, I agree with you 100%. I like the Bears to win that game. The Jaguars are just a dumpster fire. The owner Khan came out recently. I think yesterday I just saw it that I have faith in Trent Baalke. Now we know Trent Baalke is the reason that Harbaugh is not the coach for the 49ers. Trent Baalke is a team destroyer. Okay. And so he said that Khan, who's the owner of the Jaguars, reassured that he has faith in Trent Baalke and then Doug Peterson. That usually means in the next 2 weeks they're going to be fired. Somebody's going to go. So as soon as they give that vote of confidence, that shot in the arm, listen, a pink slip will follow. So I think, it couldn't happen to a better GM. Trent Baalke, thank you for trying to destroy the 49ers, but it didn't work. I mean, we had some tough times in between Harbaugh and obviously, Kyle Shanahan, but we're here now, and we're a perennial playoff team. We're always in the NFC Championship game. We just have to finally get over that hump and get that championship. Chicago Jaguars, I like Chicago. I think they have a really good team. Their defense is pretty good. I think you don't have to be great against the Jaguars. I mean, I think they'll shut down ETN. I think overall, Caleb Williams is going to be throwing the ball all over the yard, all over the pond, whatever you want to call it. And I think that they're going to have it should be. I mean, if it's not going to be good teams, at least put up some points, right? At least put up some decent points. So hopefully DJ Moore has a game. I really need him to because he's on my fantasy team. Obviously I have a vested interest in him doing that. But I think that will be, I'm not going to do a prediction. I would, if I predicted on that game, I would say Chicago 28, Jaguars 17. I think they're going to get the W, and it should be pretty convincing, throughout. Let's talk about another game that I'm interested in because I'm not going to highlight all the games. Usually we highlight, if you're just new to Twitter, I'm obviously a 49ers fan. Our co-host SKRAPP is everything Eagles. Philadelphia. He's an Eagles fan, Phillies fan, 76er fan. Rod, who is from Brooklyn also. That's the, Brooklyn Beards and Ball. The other beard, I don't want to say other beard, but the other person from Brooklyn, my co-host, he is a Cowboys fan. I think he's a Yankees fan. I don't know who. Oh, he's a Laker fan, of course. Lakers. I was going to say Knicks, but that's his brother. So I think, usually we talk about those games. So in their absence, I'm going to talk about the Cowboys versus Detroit. Now, this is a bit of a revenge game. And I think that if the Detroit Lions are smart, they will run the ball down the Cowboys' throat. They will, pound. All because between Gibbs and Montgomery, listen, they can really, I think if they get too cute with Goff trying to throw the ball, and they have great receivers. I also have Sam Laporta, who is on my fantasy team. I would love for him to have a great game, but I don't know if he will. You think Detroit won the game. I don't think Detroit's going to win that. I think that Dak and CD, because if you saw last week, the Cowboys, I think Dak tried to lob it to CD, and there was of course the camera is always on the star players of the team. He's looking at the exchange between CD and Dak, and they were saying that CD was chewing Dak out, and Dak was his head down. He looked defeated. I mean, we're familiar with how Dak usually looks when when he does that, there's problems. Okay, when you see Dak with his mouth open, like a vacuum, there's problems. The team is not doing well. But he was on the sideline, head down, and so everyone's trying to read CD's lips and what he was saying. And ultimately, they had an interview with him, and he said, "I was telling him jump ball, throw it up. It's a jump ball." He had a height advantage over the defender, and when you're in that situation in the red zone, you want to at least give your receiver a chance to score, and he didn't do that. So I think whenever CD has those tantrums and Dak, I think they're going to make a concerted effort to get him the ball. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he had 12 to 15 targets. I think they're going to try to get CD heavily involved in it. if they're gonna do jet sweeps. They're gonna do a lot of stuff, and I would estimate that Dak is gonna have I don't know, 350 yards and maybe 3 touchdowns. I expect him to have a very, very good game. I think CeeDee Lamb will have upwards. I think he'll have at least 2 touchdowns and maybe 125 yards, probably on 15, targets. So I think that, but I mean, you're going to have a little sprinkle of Tolbert. Dowell, I don't think he's going to have any chance to really run the ball. I mean, he had a season high last week, but, I think the Detroit Lions run defense is really stout. I think Dak's going to have to try to get the ball out fast. He's going to be trying to move and get CeeDee involved as much as possible. Yeah, absolutely. They have no run game. Dallas has 0 run game. And so if Detroit is smart, what they'll do is I think they'll just try to have long, sustained drives, running the ball. Of course, they have really good receivers. Detroit does. They have Jamison Williams that can take the top off. Of course, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's top-notch receiver. You have Laporta, as I said. Of course, you have Gibbs. You also have Montgomery. So you have a plethora of weapons that I think can be effective and can be used to ultimately beat the Cowboys. But I do think the Cowboys win this game. I do think they do, because it's going to be very important for them to keep pace with the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are balling out. I think the Commanders have a really, really big game. And that gets to, we're going to briefly talk about it. I'm going to give my Cowboys score. I think the Cowboys are going to win 35-24. I like the Cowboys to win 35-24. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think the over-under might be, I may be confusing it with another game, but I think the over-under is either 48 or 52. I think that they're going to, I think they're going to hit that mark rather easy. Talking about the Washington Commanders, they play Baltimore. And I think I had last week put Baltimore on upset alert. And had they not fumbled that kick, they would have won the game. But they didn't. And unfortunately, when you give a team like Baltimore an opportunity, a shot of life, an opportunity to make good in overtime, listen, there's no way. With Derrick Henry, the way he's been running, I think there's no way. Although I do think, surprisingly enough, I think Derrick Henry will have a disappointing week. That, bull in the whatever cabinet, that is a phrase that is typically used. I think that they're going to be cautious with Derrick Henry. I think that they're going to be a little more smarter about trying to suffocate him. I mean, because let's face it, I was watching, I think I was watching something with Bill Belichick, and he was explaining how you could contain Jaden Daniels. Ultimately, you want him to stay in the pocket. If he gets outside of the pocket, he's more dangerous. And I think, I was trying to avoid the colloquial China cabinet. I know it was, but yeah, you're right. Since it said bull in the China closet or cabinet. So I think ultimately, if he gets on the outside, he's more dangerous than he is on the inside, right? So if you keep him contained, I won't say great receivers. Terry McLaurin is a really, really good receiver, but I think arguably you would be more concerned if he gets outside the pocket, because I think he has over 300 yards rushing already. He might have more than that, but I think it's at least 300 yards rushing. So he's on that, kind of Mike Vick type of mobile quarterback that is extremely dangerous. He has, obviously a good arm. He has mobility. So he is a problem. But if you keep him contained in that pocket, I think you neutralize some of those, skills that he has to improvise, to extend plays, to find people downfield, where it can be a broken play and he finds somebody, 60 yards down, he's throwing a bomb. So I think they're going to be smart about it. They'll have Austin Eckler, you know, I think Brian Robinson. I don't know if he's going to play. I don't think he's playing. I know he's injured. He might be a game time decision, but I think, or he might be ruled out. Austin Eckler is going to ball. We know Austin Eckler, who in fantasy, I don't know if everyone's aware of this, he averages 1.6 points in fantasy per touch. He leads the NFL in that. If people that know fantasy, they know that's impressive, you know. So you're factoring in, if you're in a PPR league, for those that don't know, real quick, if it's, you get a point per reception. So he's getting almost 2 points per reception. So that means he's getting a pass, catching it, and he's getting something equal to almost 10 yards. So I think he's been playing at a high level. I think they'll, you know, try to pepper him with a lot of passes. But I think it's going to be a good game. I'm kind of on the fence if I think that Baltimore is going to lose, right? They have to lose, right? And I think it's really important, as I've said last week, and I've said many times for those that have watched, the NFL is not in the business of having teams pretty much out of playoff contention this early, 6 weeks into the season, right? So somehow, some way, Cincinnati is going to, the only way for them, they can't catch Baltimore straight up, right? The only way is if Baltimore starts to come back to the pack and Cincinnati starts to get some W's. So at some point, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Washington pulls off the upset and actually beats Baltimore. What are the keys? How will they do that? If they want to beat Baltimore, they have to neutralize Derrick Henry, right? They have to neutralize Derrick Henry, and they have to say, okay, Lamar, you have to beat us with your arm. Washington has to say, okay, Lamar, beat us with your arm. Hit Zay Flowers. We need you to, you know, get Likely involved, because, I mean, the other tight end, I'm forgetting his name because he's been, you know, non-existent. Mark Andrews has been non-existent. So get Likely involved. Get Rashad Bateman. Get someone else involved. Force him to be a passer. You can't, like Jaden Daniels, you can't let Lamar get outside the pocket. You got to keep him kind of confined in the pocket. Get him to get happy feet. But if you let him get outside, it could be a bad day. But I'm going to go on a limb. This might be not on a limb because Washington's been playing at such a high level. But I think they have an opportunity, if they kind of stick to the script and the game plan, to make it most advantageous for them. So I'm going to go with Washington over the Ravens. I'm going to go 28-27. I'm going to go with Washington over the Ravens. Let's talk really close and quickly about the Eagles. Now, listen, they got everybody back, right? Devontae, the little pin or the little coin that was shaking around in his head has finally stabilized. I mean, I shouldn't make jokes about concussions. They're very serious. But he had a concussion. He was out. He's back. And then you have A.J. Brown was dealing, I think, with an ankle injury or some type of injury that he was out for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. Well, they're coming back. Everybody has a clean bill of health. I think they're coming off of a bye. And I think because the coach is very much in the hot seat, I think that they're going to try to come out and make a statement. And they're playing a team that you can make a statement on. You can make a statement on Cleveland, because for the life of me, I don't understand why they have not given Jameis Winston an opportunity. I do know there's 230 million reasons why they haven't given Jameis Winston the opportunity. But this is what I want to plead to Deshaun Watson. Listen, just act like you have a hamstring. Just do one play, try to get an extra yard, and just limp to the sideline and give Jameis Winston the opportunity. I think Jameis Winston will open up the doors for a lot of those receivers. Nick Chubb is supposed to be coming back, not this week, but he's practicing and he's squatting and he's doing all kind of stuff. Now, I don't know if that's going to work when you're actually people are hitting your legs, but he looks impressive. And I mean, this is not the first horrific leg injury he's had, and he's able to come back and blow our minds as to how great he's been playing. So they have that on the horizon. But if you're too far out of it, then it's going to be too late. I think Stefanski has to make the tough decisions, and ownership. I mean, maybe Stefanski, if he would have made the decision already, because everyone logically says, okay, Deshaun Watson doesn't have it. Let's try to get some kind of fire going with maybe Jameis Winston. Listen, Amari Cooper, he's getting all the targets. But if you look at Deshaun Watson, it seems like he has a struggle. His throwing motion is almost like Phillip Rivers now. It used to be fluid. And you know how Phillip Rivers used to have the ball and just he would just like push the ball to the receivers, although he was accurate, although he'll probably be in the Hall of Fame someday, but he also had really good receivers and Antonio Gates was a great tight end, Hall of Fame. So, but Deshaun Watson, when you look at him now, when he was with the Texans, he had a fluid throw to the ball. But now it seems like it's a little more like he's struggling to get the ball downfield. And Amari Cooper is getting open. He is one of the best route runners in the league, and I have him on my fantasy team. So I'm looking for him to have he's getting the targets, but it's not amounting to much because Deshaun is not throwing him open, right? We want quarterbacks to throw us open so that when you catch it in stride, you can just keep going. If you're throwing, every ball is a contested, possession almost. Amari Cooper is more than a possession receiver, right? So he should be getting the ball in stride. He should be getting on slants or however he gets it to get him down the field. And I think, unfortunately, Deshaun Watson is not playing well. I do think Amari Cooper is going to have a game, though. I think he's going to have a game because you can throw on the Eagles, right? Nobody's afraid of the Eagles. You can run on them. You can throw on them. You can do a lot of stuff with the Eagles, okay? So I think that it's going to be a game, but I ultimately think that the Eagles will win. I mean, if they get down early and they abandon the run, because listen, Saquon Barkley is a lifesaver for the Eagles. If not for Saquon Barkley, their record would be even worse, right? Because he had single-handedly won some games for them. And I think ultimately, if Saquon has a game, they'll keep it interesting. Let's see what you said. It's like Space Jam movie when the powers got zapped. It reminds me of Deshaun. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. What's up, David? Thanks for joining. I don't know. I don't know what. Listen, I don't know what he left on the massage table. The same Deshaun Watson did not get up from that table. I don't know what happened. I don't know his skills. I don't know. Everything was left, at the table. But he hasn't played well, and he has weapons, right? He has good enough weapons. I don't know if Njoku is going to play. I know he was dealing with injuries, so I'm not sure if he's going to play this week. But I think ultimately it's going to amount to what's going on, man. I think it's going to amount to Deshaun Watson either getting their act together or the Chiefs making a decision that is in the best interest of their fan base. I mean, not saying that Deshaun could never come back, right? But I think they need a spark and then maybe maybe tailor the offense. Maybe it'll be easier when Chubb comes back, right? Because a running game takes the pressure off the quarterback. Usually that works for rookies, right? You would want a rookie to have that type of pressure taken off. But I think, Deshaun Watson, maybe he's not, clearly he hasn't played and he's not the, Texans, Deshaun Watson. But I think the Eagles will win the game. I think Devontae being back, Dallas Goedert. You got, of course, Saquon, AJ Brown, I think, and but I will say this: there will be a turnover. Hurts will turn the ball over. There will be at least an interception or a fumble, or both, but there will be one. I think it's in his contract. I think it's in the fine print. He has to turn the ball over. I mean, because before the contract, very little turnovers. After the contract, he's a Apple turnover machine. So I think they'll have an opportunity to do something. If they can maybe capitalize on the turnovers, because I think Deshaun Watson, if he can get out of the pocket, he can get those receivers going. I think they have an opportunity because you can run and pass on them. But I also think the Eagles, if they play their game, I think they have a really good chance to win. And so I'm going to go with the Eagles ultimately winning the game 27-21. I think the Eagles will prevail late, 27-21. I think it might be, I don't know. It's tough. Jalen Hurts, if you're going to bomb, right? He did it right. Bomb after you get the bag, right? Don't bomb first, right? Get the bag and then let the cat out of it, right? Or the eagle. Let the eagle out the bag. Once hey, listen, you signed a lucrative deal. Now you're getting married. Congratulations, on your soon nuptials. But listen, I don't think he's not impressive. He's not impressive. And for those of you Eagle fans that think he's better than Brock Purdy, now we already know Dak's not better than Brock Purdy. But for all the Eagle fans that think, oh, I'd rather have Jalen Hurts. And can I just say this real quick about Brock Purdy? You see what he's doing with his legs? You see how he's never going to be Lamar Jackson. He's never going to be Jaden Daniels. He's never going to be, what's his name in Buffalo. But he doesn't have to be. All he has to do is extend the play long enough to find Debo or Ayuk or Kittle or CMC when he comes back, or Jordan Mason, anybody, Juszczyk, anybody, Jennings. So the misnomer that you have to be able to run and average 70 yards a game, that's good for fantasy. But in the real world, give me a quarterback that can just keep moving in the pocket long enough for a play to develop. Did Tom Brady run for 70 yards a game? I think not, right? And how'd he make out? How was his career? So I'm not comparing him to Brady, clearly, but I'd like to say, I say all that to say, you don't need to run the ball ridiculously to be effective. And Brock Purdy's been proven that week in and week out. So I think the Cowboys will ultimately win. I like the Eagles to win. Of course, my Niners took care of business. I like the Bears to win. Another interesting game, the Bengals, right? We'll talk about really quickly the Bengals and the Giants. Now, I think the Bengals have to win this game. They have to win this game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. If the Bengals lose this game, as tough as early as it is in the season, it's going to be very tough for them to climb back. There would be too many AFC teams that would need to collapse for them to even get a wild card spot, right? When you think about how the Steelers are playing, right, and how Baltimore is playing, right, it would be too much for them. I mean, there's not going to be 3 teams in one division, right, that get to the playoffs, right? Because I think there's a little more parity than that happening. But I think there would have to be an utter collapse if they lose this game. Now, if they win this game, they're on track. They have a hill to climb, but I think their opportunity is still in front of them, because I haven't looked at their schedule, but I imagine that their schedule will get softer. There'll be a soft part of their schedule with some gimme games, and it starts with the Giants, right? Chase Brown, I need you to have a game. Zach Moss, I need you to have a game. We know what Higgins is going to do, right? We know, they're going to ball out. Chase is going to ball out. We already know that. But we need to have, don't let Danny Dimes beat you. Without Neighbors, now let's talk about that really quick. Neighbors has a concussion. I think I don't know. Now, this might be cumulative, right? Because we know that Tua is out because he had like 3 concussions in a season, right? That we know of. And he's probably had concussions at Alabama. So it's cumulative. Each concussion you have rattles that brain. It's a brain bruise. Okay, let's not soften what a concussion is. It's a brain bruise, right? And so if you hit yourself, you hit your funny bone, you hit something, or you bang your toe and something's bruised. It takes a while. Now imagine your brain, your cabeza, being bruised, right? It takes time, right? What I don't understand about Neighbors, he had a concussion. You thought he would have been back. It's been 2 weeks, right? He's at a Travis Scott concert. I mean, maybe the team knows there were other players there, but the other players aren't their star receiver, right? Who is vitally important to their success. And, I don't know if the loud music contributed, but he's unavailable this week. Now, Wan'Dale Robinson will get 15 targets for 15 yards. He's great for fantasy. In real life, I don't know. Darius Slayton, I think he's going to have a good game because you can throw on Cincinnati, and you can run. But I think Devin Singletary's dealing with an injury, so it might be Tyrone James Jr., whatever his name is. He had a pretty good game last week, so it should be an interesting game. But this is a must win for Cincinnati. If they lose this, I hate to say that seasons are done, but it's going to be very tough. They would have to ultimately come back and win their division because I don't see a wild card. It's the AFC has too many good teams for them to squeak into a wild card. They would just be utter collapse. They would be just teams. Now, there is a unfortunate injury, right? The leading receiver, unfortunately, it's very tough. The Texans, Nico Collins on IR with the hamstring. Now, I have Nico Collins on my fantasy team, and I want to personally thank Nico Collins for not going out like a sucker. You at least scored they threw you a bomb touchdown, and you got the hamstring injury on that touchdown, right? So I appreciate that. But you're out for at least the next 4 weeks, which is unfortunate for fantasy owners. Now, the Texans, I think they're going to get Mixon back, which I'm sure that they're thoroughly looking for Mixon. I'm looking for, now this is going to be prop-wise, I'm looking for Tank Dell to have an unbelievable game because the defense is going to be focused on Diggs. Right? Diggs is going to be that number 1 receiver. I think they're playing New England, if I'm not mistaken. Let me verify. Yes, they're playing New England. So Gonzalez is going to be on Diggs. Tank Dell is going to have a game because outside of Gonzalez trying to lock him down, I think Tank Dell, if you remember last year, Tank Dell before he got injured was CJ Stroud's number 1 receiver, right? Even more so than Nico Collins. Even though Nico Collins was coming on, Tank Dell, they had chemistry right away and they were balling out. So I think Tank Dell gets back to that being that pseudo kind of default number 1 receiver. I do think that when Nico Collins comes back, he's going to take his rightful place as being the number 1. He was balling out. It was unfortunate. Fantasy owners or managers hang on when Nico comes back, coupled with Mixon and Tank Dell and Dalton Schultz and Stephon Diggs. They're going to have a really good team. And that I say all that to say is that's why I think Cincinnati, this is a must win, because if Cincinnati loses this game, they got no shot. It's going to be very, very tough because wild card. I don't see that happening. And so I think I've covered all the games that anybody is interested in. Green Bay, Arizona is going to be a pretty good game. I think it should be high scoring. So I think it should overall. Now, lastly, let's talk about Monday night's game. Buffalo and the Jets. Now, Jets fired Robert Saleh unceremoniously. And I think Aaron Rodgers, the talk is that Saleh is going to get rid of the offensive coordinator, who is just a guy. He's just a jag. He's a jag. Just a guy, and so he was going to get rid of the offensive coordinator and make that move. And before he handed a pink slip, they gave him a pink slip. But let me just let everyone know. Do you know that Robert Saleh, staying home, is getting $20,000 a day? Let that sink in. So did he lose? I mean, listen, hurt my feelings that way. Pay me $20K to stay home. Hurt my feelings. Pay me $20K, and he's going, if he doesn't get another head coaching job next year, certainly because he's been in that New York market, he'll get a commentator job. He can definitely pick and choose defensive coordinator. Hey, listen, if Saracen, whatever his name is, if he doesn't work out, come on back to the Bay, baby. We want you. We know what you can do. And I think Kyle gave him a call to check on him. I'm not sure if, that was like, hey, you ready to come back? But he said that he's going to take the rest of the year off. And why wouldn't you? If you're getting $20K a day for the rest of the season, why wouldn't relax? Chill out, you're getting paid. But I say all that to say the Bills, Josh Allen has not been playing well the last two games. And so they're looking, they need some bounce back. Now, usually when a coach gets fired, the team gets fired up. Everybody's happy. Although I don't think everybody agrees with, on the Jets side, I don't think everyone agrees with the dismissal of Robert Saleh. I think that was something that was a knee-jerk reaction. I think Aaron Rodgers had something to do with it. He's one of those throw the rock and hide your hands type of people. I think he very much had something to do with it. But ultimately, I think I like the Bills. I like the Bills in this game. I like the Bills. I think even though Cook is questionable, maybe game time decision with turf toe, I think that they'll be able, I think Josh Allen is going to have to grit this. Although historically, the Jets play the Bills very, very tough, very tough. And Josh Allen has meager numbers up against them. I think he's going to try to grit out a W because the Bills need it, right? And I think the Jets are feeling themselves. They got that whole, they clear the air. And now, Aaron Rodgers gives these, cryptic press conferences, and he does a lot of blinking and a lot of, he's looking off to the sides, looking at different people as he's talking, as you should. But now it's on you. And we had a discussion last week. The Jets organization gave Aaron Rodgers everything he wanted. Nathaniel Hackett, who's just a guy, just a frat brother, just somebody chilling on the bench. I mean, probably is a good person to, talk shop with and just, jab you and kind of wrestle with you. He's one of those guys, right? To give you like a noogie and a wet willy. He's not an offensive coordinator. That's who. So Aaron Rodgers is surrounding themselves with the Alan Lazards and what's the other guy that he used to play with they're forgettable people. He used to play with him with the Packers that played 1 year. He's surrounded with, and now you're getting a coach fired. So they've done everything. This is your team. It's time to put up or shut up, Aaron Rodgers. Enough is enough, right? You have the offensive weapons. You have the defense, right? Which is a top 5 defense, arguably top 5 running back in Breece Hall, right? You got Garrett Wilson, right? And what are we waiting for? The only way you can be effective is if you have Devontae Adams. I mean, give him Devontae. What it's still going to matter. It's still going to amount to you're going to have to put up or shut up. You're going to have to get the ball to him because we know Devontae is what he is. We know what he can do on any team. It's going to amount to what you do. Enough blame, enough, retreats, enough trips to Egypt. It's going to be on you. Aaron Rodgers, what are you going to do? New York is not the mark. It's not Wisconsin where you can just, I'm just going up to the cottage and, having, some kind of cheese and crackers. You're going to be held after this firing. Now it's all on you. Robert Saleh he can't be the punching bag anymore, right? So you're going to have to prove yourself, and time will tell. We're going to see where you are and what you're actually going to do. But I do think the Bills will win this game. They need to win this game. And I think as long as Josh Allen, I know that their star receiver is hurt, but I think if he stays balanced, he doesn't try to be a superhero, and they play within the offense, whether it's Cooks or if it's Ray Davis or if it's Ty, whatever, utilize the run game to the pass. Josh, you're not a running back. You can extend plays, but your job is not to be a running back. You are too valuable to the team. So just be smart about it. It should be some really interesting games. I do think that there's going to be an uptick in offense because it's kind of, low games are cool here and there, but just like that, they look at the NBA. The NBA stopped really defense. Now every game is 135 to 134 because people want to see that. People want to see touchdowns. That's why I'm hoping tomorrow morning across the pond, they're actually scoring points. Those people, 100,000 people aren't sitting there with all types of jerseys from, throwback jerseys, all type of jerseys from all over the world to watch a 17-15 game. They want to see points. So hopefully, I think there'll be an uptick. Real quick, before I close, shout out to the refs for making a terrible call against the Niners. That muff punt by Seattle that we should have had the ball again. Don't apologize after you messed it up. Now, if that didn't cost us the game, but had it cost us the game, man, that would have been very, very bad. You have all these angles. I don't care. And I heard someone say an excuse. Amazon doesn't have the same camera angles as, CBS and the NFL network. What? I just ordered something and they're ringing my doorbell. Or Amazon doesn't have cameras? What are you telling me Amazon doesn't have camera angles? Unacceptable. Amazon, Thursday Night Football, if you want to continue, like I have a choice. If you want to continue to have these NFL games on Thursday nights, get it together. Have the cameras. Take the extra time you need to make the right call because some of these calls change the whole trajectory of the game. It might be a pivotal nail in the coffin, and then you're keeping the team alive, and they come and we know giving a team life when we should have stomped them out has come back to hurt us. So fortunately, that bad call by the refs and the cameras and the eye in the sky and all of that didn't impact the game. But that was definitely a muffed punt. We should have gotten that ball in plus territory and just kept driving down the field. But so on and so forth. Hey, it happens that way. I appreciate everyone tolerating my rant. Shout outs to Rod and Scrap who, left me high and dry. But, it's like that sometimes. I appreciate everyone. Please like, share, subscribe, Facebook, YouTube. We're on X. We're working on our TikTok. We're going to be on there soon. Tell a friend and then tell another friend. Next show, if you want to join, you have comments. Hey, we address the comments on the spot. If there's a discussion or something, a topic you want us to discuss, we'll do it. If it's sports related, we'll talk about it. Culture related, we'll talk about it. That's what we do. I appreciate everyone joining me today. Until next time, everybody, peace.